everybody's been so helpful. The other master gardeners getting me settled in and started. County Extension is the extension from the University of Florida, and it's all research-based information that we give to you. So what I'm going to offer to you is based on research. I hope it's educational, informative, entertaining. I hope you can pick up something from the presentation today and make use of it. Otherwise, for me, I don't want you to waste your time. I want you to learn something about hummingbirds, their life history, how to attract them, how to treat them, and take care of them. So, I'm going to start off in my usual manner. I've got two favorite animals. One of them is an African elephant. I love them. They're a great animal. You probably didn't know that adult elephants need 300 to 400 pounds of vegetation every day to eat. A hummingbird is my other favorite animal. So it's the largest land mammal and one of the smallest ones. I love them. They're a great, wonderful little bird. Now, does anybody here have any pennies? Anybody have a penny? No pennies. What do I do with my pennies? Can we pass these around? Everybody take a penny. And you can keep it if you'd like to. And if you get a penny, or let's pass it. We're going to pass the coffee beans out at the same time. Everybody take a coffee bean, if you would, please. And pass that around. I think that's the only thing. I don't have enough ping pong ball halves to pass out, so I'll just use those myself. All right, a penny. Now, why would I pass a penny around? That's how much a hummingbird weighs. That's how much a hummingbird weighs. A penny weighs. 1 penny. Now, here's the kicker. A hummingbird weighs 1 penny, and they burn 7 calories a day. That's it. 7 calories for 1 penny in 24 hours. I don't want to tell you how many pennies I weigh, but if I had the metabolism of a hummingbird, I'd have to have 210,000 calories a day. They want me to move the screen around.
No, you need to go through the... You're not being recorded.
I'm not being recorded. Am I supposed to leave it now or me?
You're supposed to stay over there.
I didn't have this problem with First Cast News when I did it. All right. 7 calories a day. That's it for these little birds. Now, how do they get by with that? Well, they're tiny, and 80% of their daytime activity is spent not active. They actually sit, rest 80% of the day. And at night, when they sleep, they go into something called torpor. It's not hibernation, but they do slow their metabolism rate down. And I don't know if you've seen the photographs of them hanging upside down while they're sleeping. That happens. They're very unique. They're high-performance engines. And that 7 calories is burned very efficiently. Now, we have 17 native, or 17 species of hummingbirds in the United States. We have, anybody know how many in Florida? 4. Good. The ruby throat is the most common, rufous, and the black chin. Those are the 3 you're going to see. on occasion. They migrate. They migrate from Canada all the way down the East Coast to southern Florida, Cuba, and some into Central America. Hummingbirds are only found in the Western Hemisphere. They're not found in Europe or Africa or Asia. It's only in the Americas. They're found from sea level all the way up 15, 18,000 feet elevation in the Andes Mountains. I saw a presentation, I think it was National Geographic. They had one of these hummingbirds, one of the big ones, in Central America and South America, and they were doing research. And they took this animal and they put it in a pressurized plexiglass box that had a perch in it. And they pressurized it, sea level, and they took the perch out. And the bird would fly, it was fine. Put the perch in, took more oxygen out. They put it up to 10,000 feet, pulled the perch out, bird was flying, no problem. Put the perch back in, took it down to 20,000 feet oxygen. That's not much. You have to have oxygen mask in airplanes at that altitude. They took the perch out, kept flying. It was around 24,000, 25,000 feet altitude equivalent. They pulled that perch out, then the bird was having trouble. These are incredible little birds. There's not another bird like them in the world. It's amazing. So they migrate back and forth. In fact, our crew have pretty much migrated through. We now have a resident population here, and they're staying here for the summer. Whole bunch of them will move as far as they can, as long as they have nectar-producing plants and enough shelter to where something's not going to eat them at night. But they will move. If it gets too cold, they'll push back. And then they'll move again. And eventually they'll go on up as far as Canada. In the mountains of North, South Carolina, Maine, all the way up. Fascinating. And let me throw this one at you. The rufous hummingbird, which is pretty much across the country, migrates from Mexico to Alaska and back in a year, during the year. Think about that. This little bird will migrate. It has the farthest migration per body size of any bird in the world. The Arctic tern goes Arctic to Arctic, and there are some other passerine and hawks, falcons that will go pretty, it's just big. That's the magic of these little birds. Now, in the spring, we get our hummingbirds moving in, mostly ruby throat. And the little ruby throats come in, the males come in typically first, and what do males do? Set up territory. Chase the other males out. That's all they're doing. Finding enough nectar plants. Hey, I like it living here. I'm going to live here and see if I can attract a mate or two or three or four. So that's what they do. And the females will come in saying, yeah, okay. And they breed. And then they make a nest, except that they isn't the male and the female. It's the female. She is a single parent. And this is the size of her nest. You take half a ping pong ball, that's the size of her nest. Did you get your coffee bean?
Yeah.
Look at the coffee bean. That's the size of their egg. And a little bird like this has a coffee bean sized egg. That's a big egg. Largest egg per body size of any bird. I saw something the other day that said the kiwi has an egg that's huge, and an ostrich has one. That's true, but they're big birds. Little bird, coffee bean sized egg. Now, You're not going to ever look at a penny the same again. You're not going to look at a coffee bean the same again. You're probably not going to look, well, I don't know if ping pong ball hits you like it does me, but anyway. The female builds this little nest. Now remember, she has to have 7 calories a day just to exist. She's building a nest out of lichens and moss and spider webs. And it's actually camouflaged. I've never seen one. I've got some friends that have. I've never seen a hummingbird nest. But they build these things and they hide them away, but you can't really see them because they look like just a lump on a branch or a limb. She sets up this nest. She lays 2 eggs. She sets the eggs. 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and they hatch. And now she has young baby birds in her nest. And those birds have to have 2 things: carbohydrates and protein and some fat. So I'd keep that one in mind. The little birds are out, and they're like little birds you see in the videos, with their mouths are open and they need food. Mama's going out, getting food and bringing it back to them. Mama has to have 7 calories a day, and now she's got 2 mouths to feed that need probably proportionally more. It's less calories, but for the little birds, it's more. So she's got to go get it. Well, where's she going to get protein? Every bird species has to have protein for their chicks. It's required for their development. They can't live on sugar alone. So this little bird, little mama hummingbird, has to have protein. And I'll tell you what happened. In the house I had up in Fernandina, I have a nice garden in the back. I had a lot of hummingbird attracting plants. And I'd sit there drinking my tea, and hummingbirds would come in and chase each other off and, do their thing. And one day I'm watching, and usually they come down and feed on the plants and fly right up into the little dead branches on the tree overhanging the house, and they would sit there. After they'd feed and they'd come up, and it was kind of like, oh man, I wish I hadn't eaten that whole thing. And they would sit there. And then they'd fly off, and you could tell which way the nest was. They always went that way. Well, anyway, one day I'm looking, and there's this little hummingbird, and she's doing this weird thing out in the backyard. She's just grabbing something. And I got up, I walked over to the window, and I'm watching. Tiny white flies coming up off of my plants. Hardly see them. And that's what she was grabbing. These little white flies. And she's taking it back to her chicks. And she's eating some of them. She's got to have that protein. Now they can get some protein from pollen and so forth, but they also eat insects, and that's part that some people don't realize. Now, the young get raised, they're fledged. She may have a second brood, possibly have a third. The mortality is very high in most bird species, and typically the more young a bird species has, the higher the mortality is on that species. She only has 2 to 4. Probably it's about an 80% mortality the first year. The average lifespan is about 3 to 4 years. The longest lived that I've read is 12 years. They actually tagged the female, and 12 years later they recovered her, and they could document 12 years. That's very, very unusual. These birds are susceptible to anything bigger than they are, including spiders. They can fly into spider webs and get hung up. It's tragic. No, not tragic, it's nature. I can't say it's tragic. The thing that, and I'm assuming that one of the reasons you're here is so that you can learn something about them, so you can appreciate them more and maybe help them a little bit. So here we go to the helping part. The way most people want to help them is get a feeder, artificial feeder. Great, they use them. First thing I want to talk about though is there are native plants that these birds go to. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have native plants there, even with the little insects flying around, for these hummingbirds. If you can do it, a native plant is better. Now I moved from a house in a yard to an apartment, and I was wondering, what am I going to do about hummingbirds? Well, one of the guys 2 floors up from me happened to hear that I like hummingbirds. He said, oh yeah, I've got one coming to my feeder. So in an apartment complex, 2 floors above me, he's got hummingbirds coming. Oh, wow, I'm going to get a feeder. So this takes me into my practical side. Now I have a feeder. Guess what? I've got a very tired little female hummingbird coming to my feeder, at least twice a day. She comes in and tanks up and leaves. I think she's setting on a nest because I'm not seeing her around much. So let's talk about feeders. First I want to start off with, you can get them plastic or glass, and if you get a glass one, don't do what I did. I had it in my hummingbird bag, opened it up this morning, and a little fire extinguisher I keep in the back of my car, apparently dead center, downside of glass. But I'm going to tell you, there's an upside to glass. A feeder, and I'll back it up. Let's see, where is it? You've got plastic feeders and glass feeders. That'll cut myself up. Pick that thing up. You can have little ones and big ones. What we suggest is if you're going to feed these birds, there's a recipe. Now you can go into the box stores and the bird store, some of the native stores, and you'll see hummingbird nectar. It's usually colored. I'm not here to make enemies, but don't bother. It's a very simple recipe. 4 to 1. 4 cups of water. 1 cup of, and this is the only thing I hope you'll use, not Publix necessarily. I'm not pushing Publix. I'm pushing cane granulated white sugar, not confectioners, not brown sugar, and not honey, pure white grain sugar. All right? 1 cup of that, 4 cups of water. Half a cup of it, 2 cups of water. 1/4 cup, 1 cup. Did I get the math right? Yes. I didn't think I was going to do it. Heat your water, you boil it. Pull it off the heat. Pour your sugar in, dissolve it, let it cool. Then you can put it in your feeder. But, until I broke in this feeder, how much do you need to put in here? You don't want to put hardly any in there. The reason is, in Florida, with our heat, we need to be cleaning these feeders every 48 to 72 hours. Empty them, clean them, refill them. Now, here's the kicker. How do you clean them? Very different. Do not put them in the dishwasher. Don't rub with soap and water. White vinegar and water. That's what you use. Soap, residue. These are high performance engines. You don't want soap residue in them. They can kill them or their babies. White vinegar and water. Now what I'm going to do and I've got a glass feeder that I haven't broken yet. I'm gonna get another glass feeder, and I'm gonna make 4 cups of hummingbird food, nectar. I'm gonna fill the first one with just a little bit in it, and it's hanging up outside. 2 days, I'm gonna take it down, put the other one out, rinse this one, clean it real good, put some nectar in it. I'm gonna shift feeders. Just takes a minute to do it, and I will offer to you how my background is in biology. I worked as a fish and wildlife biologist for the federal government and a marine biologist for the state of Georgia. I've had more sanitary microbiology than I ever want to have to remember. Sugar water, and I had a professor and he just said, that ain't nothing but a culture bowl for salmonella. That's how he'd say it. All right, culture bowl for salmonella. Well, I keep hearing this guy in my head. Let's clean these feeders every 48, 72 hours. Watch it. Is it in the shade? Is it cooler right now? We'll probably get by if it's in the shade. It's not that hot. Next week we go into our pre-summer temps, looking at the weather forecast. Every 48 hours, just pull that one down, rinse it out, fresh water, pour a lot of vinegar in it, and, oh, almost forgot, little brush. So you can scrub out the feeder ports. These little ports, you get in there with these little brushes and scrub it out. If you don't have one of these, go into any drugstore. Thank you. You need to do that for me because I'm going to go all over the place. Thank you. All right. You find one of these little dentures? Well, it'll work. It works. Now, one other thing people have said to me, I get ants in my feeders. Okay. You ever heard of an ant moat? It's an ant moat. I hope I don't knock it out. I have hand trim if you haven't noticed. Put it on there, put water in it. The ants come in, they come down, they get to that water in that. Oop, I ain't going. You go, oh, I ain't going. Well, you go someplace else. Ant moat. They're really, really functional. Now I tell you, I bought 3 of these for $5. Okay, whoever, I don't know, maybe they think I'm accident prone or something. Probably true, but they work. You can get them, I'm not pushing Amazon, but Amazon has them free for them. All right, now, some other things. A friend of mine said, I got a lot of bees coming into my hummingbird feeder. They have bees coming to it. Another master gardener said, I've got one with the yellow flowers. They don't come into mine. I don't know if that's true or not, but a master gardener was telling me that the bees do not come to the feeder with the yellow flowers. I was at the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences research base? No. But she's a master gardener. She told me that was her experience. We're going to let that slide, okay? So, I haven't tried these, and this is going to be the year I do it, since I'm doing artificial feeding. What do you think? That might just work. Yellow, no bees. Ant moat, I don't have ants that I know of yet. Little ants, we do it. Oops, I gotta put an ant moat up. I have a couple of my neighbors here, and they've been there longer than I have, and they're going, yeah, we get some ants, so we'll put the moat up. Carry it.
Why wouldn't the ants be protein for
The ants could be too large for them to ingest. The acid in the ants, it's like, you know, there are proteins that we won't eat because for whatever reason. There may be some ants that they will eat, but I haven't heard that they're eating those. It seems to be those smaller flying. That's a real good question. I need to look that up. No, dude, thank you. Good question. I guess the bottom line, this is the response that every master gardener should give you if they don't know the answer. I don't know, but I'm going to check, find out, and I'm going to get back to you. That is our mantra. I'm not kidding. That's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to find out, Karen. I'm going to find out, you know, give it to you. This looks pretty good to me. I'm going to give it a try.
I've used those cloths. I've used those.
They work?
They're easy to clean. You don't put much in at a time, and you can hang them almost anywhere.
Okay.
And they work really well.
If you didn't hear, she said it works. It's a master gardener, volunteer, saying it works. Clean it. It's easy to take care of. You don't have to have a lot of. Go ahead.
It also keeps them from fighting over one feeder. I have several now, and they all pick their feeders and go.
There you are. Words from another master gardener. If a master gardener is telling you, believe me, I'll take it. I really will. They're speaking from experience, and it's based in the Institute of Food and Agricultural Science. Now, so I've got all these, and they're going to go up on my little balcony porch. The other thing is, it's a new type of gardening for me, working with flower pots and little planters. Okay, I've done some, but it's been outdoors. This is a balcony. So I'm starting into a new era of Florida-friendly landscape in pots. And I have to learn pollinator propagation, if I said that right. Shirley's nodding her head going, yep, you got it. That's where I'm heading, and I hope you will too. Now, I don't know much about it, but if I have a question, anybody here ever heard Ask IFAS? Ask IFAS. 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 Ask IFAS. What that means is you have a question, ask IFAS. There's a website. Go to that website, you can say, what kind of hummingbird feeders? See if the research comes up for you. It's research-based. There'll be some links there for you. Florida-friendly pollinating plants for hummingbirds. Type it in, see what you can find. Or find a master gardener volunteer and ask them, and they'll say, I don't know, but I'm going to find out and get back to you. Okay? Now, this is where I go over and see what have I forgotten. I've covered just about everything. Are there questions? Sir?
You mentioned glass versus plastic, but why?
Okay. The question is, why do I prefer glass over plastic? I've read and attended a little presentation on microplastics in the environment. I haven't seen definitive studies saying, yes, it's bad, it's doing this to animals, we're picking up more of it, what's the long term? I don't know, but glass isn't the problem. Go with glass if you can, or just scrub it, change it out every 48 hours. The dilution of putting microplastics is probably small. That help? Okay. Now, one more thing I did forget. Ribbons. Put red ribbons around your feeders. It'll actually attract. That's documented research. And they love the color red. If you're gonna get flowers, plants, native plants, red blooms are usually the ones that they'll go for others. Fire spike, fire bush, coral bean, bottle brush, what else?
Salvias, red salvias.
Red salvias,
Coral honeysuckle. Coral honeysuckle.
coral honeysuckle,
Firecracker plants.
firecracker plant. There are a half a dozen plants that will attract hummingbirds to you, and if you position them in the right places, because you want to watch them, right? Isn't that the attraction? Watching these really neat little birds that can fly, not only hover, they can fly backwards, and they can upside down. Now, a helicopter can go backwards, up, down, forward, but it can't go upside down for very long. Okay? There were a couple things I think I forgot about. Their heartbeat, heart rate. I don't remember the numbers. It's fast.
Could you repeat the plants that you can put into a container to attract them, like in an apartment?
The hummingbird attracting plants, okay? Start off with red salvia. Fire spike. Fire bush. Coral.
Firecracker.
Firecracker.
Which is salt tolerant, which is good for the beaches.
And it's salt tolerant, which helps if you live near the ocean. What else? Coral bean. Coral bean. Bleeding heart. The red bleeding heart.
Shrimp plant.
Shrimp plant.
Trumpet.
Crossvine,
You'll have
crossvine, trumpet vine.
trumpet vine. Thank you. Hearing aids really aren't helpful beyond 4 or 5 feet.
Pentas.
Even volumes up. Okay.
Pentas.
Pentas,
Especially the red.
the red ones. Excellent.
Red salvias are, salvia.
Yeah, I think we mentioned, did I said, okay, good. Salvia.
You said.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's what that I
There we go.
That's one of my favorites.
All right. Any other questions?
What's their speed, like the high speed? I know they go so fast. So, has there ever been like clock how fast they get?
I think it's around 40 miles an hour, if I remember my numbers
And
right.
then, so,
You start talking about the heart rate?
No, the speed.
No, no.
Oh, the heart rate?
I was reminded about, the winter, because a lot of people worry about this in the winter, how they drop their heart rate.
Yeah, I had a lot of data numbers and everything, and in my aging self, I can't remember them. Wing beat, 80 a second. Heart rate goes up to, I must have typed that wrong. Nope. Heart rate, 1,200 a minute. That's in high acceleration, that's not a resting heart rate. So, high energy, high performance engines, give them good food, give them the 4-to-1 sugar, clean the tanks out. Ma'am,
Can you keep when you make all of that solution, you keep it in the refrigerator?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I have I use glass here.
Glass
in the-
container?
I find, man, I shouldn't go into Target. That was kind of cool. I walked in, I was looking I want 1 quart glass canning jar. Gotta buy 8.
Yeah.
I'm not buying 8, I'm not canning. I'm wandering around looking, and doggone, if here isn't it must have come down the same line of production that Mason canning jar did, but it had a handle on the side of it, and a screw in top with a straw sticking out of it. And it's glass.
Oh, okay.
I screwed that. That'll work. Guess what I measured? 4 cups of water, perfect fit. Pour it in. Wow, look at that. Put that top on it, put that little straw to block that hole. And my hand trimmer, even I can pour it into my feeder without spilling it all over the counter. My wife, I don't have to call her out to get her to do it. It works. Anyway, other questions?
Is there a shelf life of keeping the solution?
In the solution, I don't. I go through it so fast, turning it out. I'll just read, it might last a week, but in the refrigerator, the likelihood, if you have boiled the water and if the vessel you're pouring it into you have cleaned it should last a while. But once your reservoir glass in the refrigerator is empty, wash it with the vinegar and water. Do the same thing. And then 4 cups of water, 1 cup of sugar, boil it, put it all together, set it in, cool it. We have another problem at our house. We've got a push button control on our stove. My wife came in, she said, did you turn the stove on? I said, no. Cat jumped up there walking across the stove.
Yes, you have to lock your stove every night, because I have come down, big burner, high heat, and the whole downstairs was so hot. I thought, how long has this been on?
How long's it been on?
That's a fear of mine now.
We've got a little cup or a glass coaster. It's clay, fits perfect. That cat can walk all over that all at once. It won't trigger that stove once. But we got it. So anyway, that's off target. Anything else? I hope you got something from it. I hope it was worth your time. I don't want you to ever waste your time here. So thank you for allowing me to be here. That's right. And, when I started, you get, how many did you get? I know. That's that.
Heck, you guys can thank me. I just stopped the recording.
Yep, we
Oh,
can-
good. Are we
Oh,
on?
we're
Okay.
on it.
We'll leave
With
it
our
to
butts
work.
up.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, let's hope that doesn't get
I was
projected.
gonna say, all